The story returns to the moment where everything stood uncertain, but now the silence feels different. Evidence waits, patterns begin to align, and the truth, steady and unhurried, starts moving closer, ready to step into the light. By the time I reached my desk the next morning, the agency already felt off balance. People were polite, too polite. Polite in the way people behave when they are not sure which version of you they believe. My inbox held 3 messages flagged as urgent. One from HR, one from Hayes, one from the external reviewer assigned to my pitch. I opened Hayes' message first. Please refrain from making any edits until the audit is complete. We need clarity on authorship. Authorship. The word felt like it cut straight through my chest. The pitch I had spent weeks shaping by hand now lived under a question mark, placed there by someone who did not even work in this building. I opened the reviewer's message next. Please submit early drafts and concept notes by noon. We also require any collaborative input you receive from external parties. Collaborative input. Another question she had planted without having to say it outright. I sat very still. Then I opened the HR email. We received a concern regarding interpersonal conflict and boundary issues between you and an external party. Please attend a meeting today at 3. My entire stomach went cold. Interpersonal conflict. Boundary issues. Those were the exact phrases Celine used in her past fights. Her vocabulary, her wording. I closed the laptop and forced myself to breathe in a steady rhythm. At 11:30, I met Kieran near the elevator. What happened? He asked, reading my expression. She filed something, I said. I do not know what it says, but HR believes her enough to call a meeting. He swore under his breath. Iris, this is serious, he said. She is not gossiping anymore. She is creating a paper trail. You need proof of your own. I have proof, I replied. Server logs, timestamps, draft histories. That is not enough, he said. You need a pattern, something that shows this is deliberate. A pattern. That word stuck. After lunch, I pulled up every version history of my pitch deck. 7 files, 12 iterations. Then I checked every modification, every access, every unauthorized login. 2 guest logins stood out. Both linked back to temporary badges issued to the public relations office next door. Temporary badges Celine had access to when she freelanced for them last year. She was not only touching my work, she was staging involvement with it. At 2:30, I printed everything. A folder thick enough to prove intent, not accident. At 2:55, I entered the HR conference room. 2 representatives sat at the table. One from HR, one from the legal team. The legal representative spoke first. We received a concern that you have exhibited patterns of emotional volatility and territorial behavior regarding work materials, she said. We are here to understand your side. I blinked once. Who raised the concern? I asked. HR answered. It was submitted anonymously. Anonymous. But the language was hers, her structure, her tone, her fingerprints wrapped in someone else's caution. The legal representative continued. The complaint states that you reacted aggressively when constructive criticism was offered. It also mentions that an external acquaintance felt unsafe due to your communication. Unsafe. She had escalated her story again. I have never behaved aggressively, I said, and the only external acquaintance is my friend Celine. HR exchanged a quick look. She noted that you might deny the issue due to stress, the legal rep added. She expressed concern about your stability under pressure. My throat tightened. She had turned my calm into instability, my boundary into aggression, my silence into danger. May I show you something? I said. I placed the folder on the table and opened it. Every file, every timestamp, every unauthorized access, every pattern. HR leaned in, legal leaned in. This, I said, pointing to the logs, is proof that someone accessed my work using guest credentials issued to a department Celine once worked with. This is not feedback, this is interference. They scanned the entries, frowning. And this, I added, is the draft history showing the first versions existed weeks before she ever saw them. The authorship claim is false. Silence took the room. The legal representative looked up. These are serious allegations, she said. So are hers, I replied. One of them is based in evidence, one is built only on words. HR tapped her pen softly, thinking. We need to investigate this further, she said. Legal nodded. In the meantime, she added, limit communication with the complainant. Do not engage directly. I almost laughed. Engage directly. That was all Celine wanted. After the meeting, I walked out of the HR wing with the folder under my arm. No one stopped me. No one asked questions. But when I reached the main floor, 3 people who normally greeted me looked away quickly. The floor had tilted, and she had tilted it on purpose. At 5:40, as I packed my laptop to leave, my phone lit up with a message from an unknown number. If you keep digging, Iris, you will not like what you find. My hands went cold. She was not just attacking my work anymore. She was warning me, and Selene never warned without a plan behind it. The message followed me home. If you keep digging, Iris, you will not like what you find. I read it over and over on the train ride back, watching my reflection flicker across the darkened window. It was meant to scare me, but fear was no longer her strongest weapon. Curiosity was. By the time I reached my apartment, my nerves had settled into a steady hum. Not panic, alertness. Celine had never warned me before. She struck first and explained later. If she was warning me now, it meant I was close to something she could not control. I dropped my bag by the door and opened my laptop. Not the pitch. Celine. I started where I should have started days ago. Her past work. She had always been slippery about her career. Freelance roles, short contracts, sudden exits, stories that never quite lined up when placed side by side. I pulled up her old agency bios. 3 in the last 4 years. None lasting longer than 9 months. That alone meant nothing. Then I searched deeper. Employee reviews, archived comments, legal directories. At 12:30 in the morning, I found something that made my breath stop. A civil case, 2 years old, filed under a mid-sized branding firm in Brighton. The summary was short. Allegation of intellectual property interference and reputational sabotage by external consultant. External consultant, Celine's favorite title. My finger hovered over the trackpad. I opened the document. The details came apart in front of me with slow horror. A creative strategist named Margot Blythe accused an external consultant of spreading internal drafts to competitors, planting false authorship claims, and filing anonymous HR complaints that led to her dismissal. The external consultant was not named, but the timeline matched, the agency matched, the method matched, and the internal messages included screenshots. My throat tightened as I read them. Prepaid phone numbers, anonymous warnings, language about instability, aggression, emotional volatility. The same phrases, the same strategy, the same hands. A chill rolled through me. This was not jealousy. This was not emotional betrayal. This was pattern. Selene did not just leak secrets. She dismantled people. At 1:13 a.m., my phone vibrated again. A call, private number. I stared at the screen for a long moment before accepting. I told you not to dig, Celine said calmly. Her voice was steady. Too steady. You told me not to dig because you knew what I would find, I replied. Silence stretched between us. Then she laughed softly. You always were dramatic, she said. What exactly do you think you found? You destroy people by standing beside them, I said. You frame them as unstable. Then you step back and watch the room turn. Another pause. Then very quietly, she said, You think you are the first. My chest went cold. Why? I asked. She exhaled slowly. Because some people shine without earning it, she replied, and some of us learn how to correct the balance. The cruelty in her calmness made my hands tremble. You do not correct balance, I said. You manipulate it. You erase people. You were never meant to rise this fast, she replied. You were supposed to grow slowly, quietly, and then stop. That was the moment the truth landed. She was not afraid of losing me. She was afraid of losing her position above me. You used my relationship to poison my credibility, I said. Yes, she replied. You touched my work. Yes. You filed a complaint. Yes. My voice steadied. You crossed into criminal interference, I said. This time her voice shifted. Iris, she said, be careful. If this escalates, you will lose more than a pitch. You already escalated it, I replied. I can still end this quietly, she said. You walk away from the North Line account, you let it go, and the noise stops. There it was, the demand behind the damage. And if I refuse? I asked. She exhaled softly. Then I do what I always do, she said. I make you look like the problem. The line went dead. I lowered the phone slowly. At 2:40 in the morning, I forwarded the court summary, the access logs, the anonymous messages, and Selini's call recording to my private drive. Then I made one last decision. If she wanted war by implication, I would give her facts. The next morning, I walked into the agency carrying more than a folder. I carried the map of who she really was. Kieran met me near the stairs. You look different, he said. I am, I replied. She is not just attacking me. She has done this before. His eyes sharpened. Show me. We stepped into a small glass room. As he read, his face changed. This was no longer office drama. This was a predator with a pattern. At 9:21, HR called me again. This time their tone had changed. This time legal was already seated when I arrived. And this time, Celine was waiting outside the room, watching me through the glass, smiling. As I took my seat across from legal and HR, Celine lifted her phone on the other side of the glass and typed calmly. Seconds later, my phone buzzed. Let us see whose story survives. The meeting was scheduled for 10 a.m. HR, legal, Director Hayes, Kieran, the external reviewer, and Celine. I did not sleep the night before, not from fear, from readiness. By 9:45, the conference room was already half full. People sat stiffly. No one made small talk. Celine entered last. She wore cream-colored trousers and a soft smile. The kind of outfit that suggested innocence without trying too hard. When she saw me, her eyes flicked with surprise, then softened again. I did not expect you to be here, she said gently. I reported the interference, I replied. Why would I not attend? She sat down without replying. HR began first. We are here to resolve conflicting claims regarding authorship, conduct, and unauthorized system access, the representative said. We will proceed with evidence. Celine crossed her legs calmly. I only expressed concern, she said. Iris has been under pressure. I never meant for things to escalate. It was the first lie of the morning. The external reviewer stood and connected a laptop to the screen. We conducted a full access audit of all files linked to the Northline pitch, he said, including server access, badge entry points, and remote credentials. The screen lit up with timestamps. Rows, dozens of them, he continued. There were 2 guest logins used to access the pitch folders outside normal team hours. Both originated from temporary credentials issued to the Public Relations Office. Celine shifted slightly. The reviewer clicked again. These credentials match guest access logs from Celine Ward's freelance contract with that department last year. The room grew still. I watched her hands. They had stopped moving. HR leaned forward. Ms. Ward, the HR representative said, Can you explain why your previous credentials were used to access Iris Calder's files weeks after your contract ended? Celine smiled faintly. That is impossible, she said. I do not even know how to log into your servers. The reviewer clicked again. The screen changed. Security footage, a hallway, a side terminal, late evening timestamp. Celine stepped into frame, clear as glass. She looked directly into the camera, removed her coat, and sat at the guest station. The room exhaled at once. Not gasps, not shock, recognition. The footage played through. 5 minutes. 10, she typed, clicked, paused. HR stood. That terminal is the only external access point that bypasses internal permissions, she said. It is used exclusively by contractors. Celine did not speak. The legal representative leaned forward. This means the authorship concern was manufactured, she said, and the edits were staged. Silence poured into the room like water. Kieran looked at Celine. Why? He asked quietly. Why would you do this? Celine finally laughed. It was not loud. It was not wild. It was tired. Because it was never hers alone, she said. That pitch, that man, that confidence. She was always going to outgrow me. Every head turned toward her. She sat straighter. Iris does not fall unless someone helps push, she said. I just nudged the edge. My heart did not pound. It settled. The HR representative spoke with controlled anger. You accessed proprietary data without authorization. You filed a complaint using false claims. You intentionally interfered with internal operations. Celine waved a hand. You make it sound criminal, she said. Legal answered, It is. That landed harder than anything else. The external reviewer closed his laptop. Northline presentation will proceed tomorrow, he said. Authorship confirmed. Delay voided. A breath left my lungs that I did not know I was holding. Celine's eyes snapped back to me. This is not over, she said. Kieran stood. For you it is, he replied. HR turned to Celine. You are barred from this facility effective immediately, she said. Further actions will proceed through legal counsel. Celine rose slowly. She did not look shaken. She looked exposed. No audience left to perform for. As she reached the door, she turned once. You think this makes you strong, she said to me. I met her eyes. No, I said. It makes me free. She left without another word. The door closed, and for the first time in weeks the room did not feel tilted. It felt level. As everyone stood to leave, the external reviewer turned back to me and said, There is one more thing you should know. Celine did not act alone at first. My stomach dropped. Someone else authorized her initial access, he said quietly, and the name he gave next was not one I was ready to hear. The presentation room felt too quiet for what I carried into it. The audit review had been scheduled for 10 sharp. Leadership, legal, creative leads, the external reviewer, and Celine. She arrived late. Of course she did. She walked in 5 minutes past the hour, unbothered, composed, wearing a soft gray suit that made her look harmless. People smiled at her out of habit. She smiled back. I did not. The projector glowed at the front of the room. My pitch deck sat open on the screen. Paused. Director Hayes cleared his throat. We are here to resolve the authorship issue and the conduct concern, he said. Once we settle this, we move forward with Northline. Celine folded her hands neatly on the table. I only want what is fair, she said softly. Fair. That word was her favorite costume. The reviewer began with a summary of the concept. Strong structure, clean positioning, original strategy. Then he looked at Celine. You claimed parts of this were adapted from older freelance material, he said. We found no match in any external archive. Celine did not blink. I never said she copied, she replied. only that I helped shape certain strategic angles. I felt heat rise behind my eyes. Hayes turned to me. Your response, he said. This deck existed in full form before Celine ever saw it. I said calmly. All drafts, all models, all frameworks. The full timeline is in the access logs you requested. Legal nodded once. We reviewed those logs, she said. They are consistent. The earliest versions predate Celine's involvement by weeks. Celine's smile thinned. Then Hayes added the sentence that tipped the room. However, he said, we also found unauthorized access to Iris's files through a guest login. His eyes moved to Celine. Multiple times. The shift in the room was almost physical. Celine laughed lightly. That is impossible, she said. I would never touch private company files. Legal slid a page across the table. The access point came from credentials issued to the public relations office next door. You freelance there. Still. Celine's hand tightened once around her pen. That does not prove it was me, she said. No, Legal replied, but this does. She tapped her laptop. The screen changed. Security footage. The rear corridor outside the shared server suite. Timestamp. After midnight. Celine's face appeared on the screen. Her posture was unmistakable, her walk too familiar to deny. She used a badge. The door unlocked. The room went silent. No whispers, no gasps, just stillness. Celine did not move. The footage continued, showed her entering, leaving 20 minutes later. Director Hayes leaned forward slowly. You accessed internal strategic documents without authorization, he said. Why? Celine's lips parted, then closed. Then she laughed again. This is insane, she said. You are twisting this. I went in to retrieve old press assets I left behind last year. The documents accessed were not press assets, Legal said. They were Iris's concept files. Celine turned toward me. You planned this, she said softly. The accusation hung in the air like smoke. I did not respond. Legal lifted another page. And there is one more matter, she said. The HR complaint submitted anonymously was traced back to a prepaid line registered under a financial proxy Celine routinely uses. The floor shifted. For the first time, Celine's expression changed. Not anger, not fear, calculation. Her eyes moved around the room, assessing, weighing exits. This is a misunderstanding, she said carefully. You're making a lot of assumptions. No, Hayes said. We are following evidence. Celine's gaze returned to me. This is because of the man, she said. You turned them against me because you are emotional about him. No one laughed. No one moved. She kept going. She cannot separate work from personal life, she said. You all saw that. I was trying to protect the agency from her instability. Instability. That word again. Kieran stood up. That is enough, he said. You manipulated access logs, submitted a false HR complaint, and attempted to undermine my strategist's authorship. Do not pretend this is concern. For the first time since I met Celine at 16, she lost control of her tone. You think she got here by talent alone? She snapped. You think she just suddenly became brilliant? I was there for every draft, every doubt, every rejection. I built her. I stood slowly. No, I said. You watched me. That is not the same as building me. She turned to me. And you think you earned it alone? She asked bitterly. This life, this desk, this man. This life, I replied, steady, is mine because I stayed when you gifted yourself exits. Silence fell again. Legal closed her folder. Celine Ward, she said, you are now formally barred from this building. Any further interference will result in prosecution. Celine's mouth opened. Nothing came out. One by one, eyes in the room broke from her and returned to me. Not with pity, with recognition. The room had turned? As Celine gathered her bag with shaking hands, she leaned close as she passed my chair and whispered, "You still do not see it. The worst thing has not happened yet." Then she walked out, and this time, no one followed her. The building felt different after Celine left, not lighter, quieter. The kind of quiet that follows a storm when people are still counting what survived. No one spoke for a few seconds after the door closed behind her. Not Hayes, not legal, not Kieran. Then the meeting ended without ceremony. People stood, chairs shifted, laptops closed, life moved forward, just like that. Northline was back on track. The audit was closed, the accusations were recanted, but the story was not finished with me yet. I stepped into the hallway alone and leaned against the cool glass wall. My chest felt tight, not with fear, with release. Kieran joined me a moment later. "You handled that better than anyone I know," he said quietly. "I did not handle it," I replied. "I outlasted it." He studied my face. "She was never your friend," he said. "No," I agreed, "but she pretended for a long time." That afternoon, HR sent the official retraction. The complaint was void. The rumors were formally dismissed. My name was cleared in writing. People began to look at me again. Not sideways, not with doubt, straight on. By evening, the agency felt almost normal. Too normal for everything it had just watched collapse. I packed my bag and left early. Not to celebrate, to breathe. When I reached my apartment, I found something waiting on my doorstep. A thin envelope. No return address. Inside was a single printed photo. Celine and I at 19, arms linked, laughing into the camera at a street festival. Both of us certain the world had room for two queens. Tucked behind the photo was a folded note in her handwriting. "You always did land on your feet. I just wanted to be the ground." That was her last card. Not a threat, not an apology, a confession wrapped in poetry. And for the first time, I did not feel anger when I read her words. I felt clarity. She had not wanted my failure. She had wanted my dependence. The next morning, Northline arrived. The boardroom was full. The screen glowed. The coffee was untouched. Hayes introduced me as the lead strategist. No hesitation, no qualifiers. I stood, and I presented. I spoke about brand gravity, about audience memory, about turning small brands into fixed stars. I did not rush. I did not soften my voice. When I finished, the room stayed quiet for one long, heavy second. Then the client smiled. "We will be in touch today," he said. By noon, they signed. By 3 o'clock, Hayes called me into his office. "You are stepping into senior strategist effective next quarter," he said. No drama, no applause, just truth. When I returned to my desk, Kieran watched me from across the room. He did not celebrate. He did not gloat. He simply nodded, and that was enough. 3 days later, the last loose thread finally burned. Legal forwarded me an update. Celine had attempted to use her old contractor credentials at the building again. Security flagged it. The firm she freelanced for terminated her agreement on the spot. Her access to every door she once used quietly vanished in one sweep. No scandal, no spectacle, just absence. Weeks passed. The agency forgot her. The gossip moved on. The story found new villains to chase. But something in me stayed rearranged. I no longer told people everything. I listened more. I trusted slower. I chose who earned proximity to my life, and Kieran. We took it slow. No hiding, no urgency. Just truth. One evening after work, as we walked past the building windows, he said something that stayed with me. "She did not lose because she was cruel," he said. "She lost because she thought control was the same as closeness." That night, I stood alone at my apartment window and looked out at the city, at the rows of lights, at the motion, at the quiet. For years, I believed loyalty meant sharing every door in my life with one person. Now I understood something deeper. Loyalty without boundaries is not loyalty, it is surrender. Celine had not stolen my voice. She had simply mistaken my silence for weakness, and I no longer needed silence to survive. Some friendships do not end with explosions, they end with the slow burn of truth. And when the smoke clears, you finally see where you were standing all along. I appreciate you for listening and for sharing this moment with me. If something in this story echoes your own experience, please share your thoughts in the comments. And if you'd like to journey with more stories like this, please subscribe and stay connected.